All right, everybody, welcome into the Week 17 edition of Better in Laws. I'm Tuck Silva, joined alongside brother-in-law Matt Prisco after Christmas here. Matt, how are you?
Doing all right, my friend. How are you today?
Doing all right. We are a little late in recording the podcast this week because we get sicky poos.
Yeah, both of
Uh,
us down for the count.
yeah, I was on my ass yesterday, but now I might sound nasally or whatever, but I feel 1,000% better than I did yesterday.
Good.
Or the other night into yesterday morning. But who gives a shit? So that is the reason for the 1 day delay for the podcast. So back off.
Yeah, relax.
Now
Big
I mu-
game tonight. You'll miss.
now I must admit you watched more football than I on Christmas Eve because I
Mhm.
was slaving over
You were slaving, and I was watching you do that and watching
over
football.
an oven while you were pounding high noons and or no, you were pounding gin and tonics, correct?
I went
After
gin tonics and a little Viva tequila seltzer.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. So yeah, mixing's always a good idea.
Great idea.
Uh, and then yeah, so I barely watched football, but you took all of the mental notes, if you will, for week 16. So
Sure did.
looking to lean on you a little bit here. Why don't you give us a quick recap of our kind of shitty week 16 and what we preface saying that, hey, we don't care for this card at all. And sure enough, it hit us in the ass.
Yeah, both of us 1-3-1 on the day, Tuck. You just we both pushed the Cowboys +2. That was our one of our double likes. The other double like was your best bet in the Niners outright loss. There, you had the Bills -11.5. That was a loss. Colts +1.5 was a loss. You did hit the Lions Vikings over 46. For myself, I did hit the best bet with Pittsburgh, relative ease there on Saturday. Jacksonville +1.5. It's a horrendous bet. Denver plus or -6.5. You know, I told you this, Stuck on when we got together on Christmas Eve last week. I said to you, just go bet the Pats. Because once I changed that game mid podcast and said,
I
put
did.
Denver in, take out the Bills over, I said, go
Actually,
bet the Pats. You just never do that. Never do that. Just go with your first five and go with it. Big mistake on my part. So I suffered the loss there, as well as the Niners -5, as we said. So both of us 1-3-1 on the day, bringing our overall record to 43, 35-1 for each of us. Your best bets at 4-12, and mine 13-3. And the last thing I'm going to say is you're officially not allowed to take the Niners as your best bet. That's moving forward here, especially as we get to the playoffs. Not happening. Not allowed.
my new nickname for my best bets is the Grim Reaper.
You are the Grim Reaper. Yeah.
Hurts everybody who I pick for a best bet. It really is hysterical. So we saw it was coming with the Niners, my best bet last week at -5.5. Uh, in my defense, that opening drive was electric,
Yeah,
and
they had.
and then he turned the ball over. I was telling you this the other day how he held the ball for 1 second too long on his slant to Debo in the end zone. If he pulled the trigger 1 second sooner, that was a touchdown, and the Niners would have been up 7-0. Totally different feel there. And I know the Niners had injuries and everything like that too, so you never know what would happen the rest of the game. But it just was a downward spiral after that point with Brock Purdy
Yeah, disappointing game as a Niners fan.
picks.
Just getting blown out in your home field is not really what I was expecting in that for sure. But
Now,
hey, Baltimore's good. We've talked about them. They're a good team. They're going to be a problem. So um, we'll see when the pressure's on the Lamar 1-3 as a playoff quarterback. So we'll see how he does this year.
Now, on the other hand, your best bet with the Steelers +2.5 was, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was one of your most, between our listeners or friends or myself, questioned best bet wagers of the entire season, correct?
Yeah, I'd say people were like, Pittsburgh? Really? We're going to go Pittsburgh.
Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, 2 days before Christmas, you don't fade Rudolph.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
the way to go.
He looked really good.
He looked awesome for the Steelers. He's been in the system a couple of years, and it showed. He knew how to move the ball, get the offense going.
Yeah, you obviously had a massive home field advantage. That's always a great situation if you're the backup quarterback playing at home.
Yeah, it's just such a
Or-
Mike Tomlin spot too over the years. Like that is what he does. That's where he wins games. It's what that team does.
Yeah.
When you look at Pittsburgh and you're like, oh yeah, they're done. Not so fast. That's when you want to buy Pittsburgh. So That was my rationale. Worked out well.
That was locked up within the beginning of the second quarter.
Yeah, it was pretty easy there. I was very excited about it. People texting me nonstop, and it was a pretty fun Saturday. So we'll take that.
Very good, very good. All right, well, let's look ahead to week 17 here. We are recording on Thursday afternoon. Let me just pull up. I usually have the sports book on my laptop, but I'm currently recording in my studio at work, and there is a filter of gambling websites on the internet because
Beautiful.
gambling is naughty, apparently, even though it's legalized.
Naughty, naughty at the office.
Yeah, you can't gamble. You can't look at odds at work.
All
Let
right.
me just pull this up on my phone here.
Hey, no problem. If you see me glancing into the background, I have a large wager on SMU in the Fenway Bowl right now. So for the Boston folks, SMU Boston College at Fenway Park right now.
Very rainy,
Very rainy day.
very rainy day here in the Boston area. So I can only imagine how many points are being scored in the matchup there.
Not as many as I need.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's start off the podcast with our four likes. Then we'll cover the rest, and then we'll wrap up the podcast with the best. And just a reminder that if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at Better in Laws. Please leave us a like, leave us a review or leave us a comment on YouTube, leave us a thumbs up on YouTube, and please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts there. I do sound a lot worse than I feel. I just want to point that out. I was on the radio earlier, so my voice has already been taking a toll here. Kind of worn out, getting back into the swing of things. So that's why I sound so awful right now. But I don't feel awful.
Well, you look great.
Thanks. The giant bags under my eyes say differently.
We just ignore those.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's kind of over for me on that front. So,
Well,
yeah,
we're at a rough stage. Stage. Sick, 2 young kids. It happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just 3 straight days of nonstop. It was Christmas Eve, cooking, Christmas Day, cooking, 5-year-old's birthday, the next day on the 26th. So it's just nonstop. So my body was like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah, we're done. We're taking the day off, and we're going to make you feel like shit for 24 hours.
All right. So do you want to go with your, why don't you start things off with your like?
All right, bud, I'll start. My first like's Indianapolis -3. Keep this like pretty simple. Vegas won their Super Bowl last week, right? Came out on Christmas Day, beat the Chiefs in a game that I just did not see happening, but it did. And what do we see from Indianapolis? We saw them lose and look pretty gross in that game, scoring just 10 points. Michael Pittman was out after a little bit of theatrics of like, well, not theatrics, wrong word, but like thinking about like he's gonna be in, he's gonna be out, he's gonna be in, he's gonna be out. He ended up sitting, and they really missed him. So he'll be back for this game. All signs pointing to after that brutal concussion a couple of weeks ago, and he's just such a key for that offense in Indianapolis. They get Jonathan Taylor back. They have their run game back. I just like this team at home. I like to play Indy at home, especially coming off of a loss. It's a huge game in that division that's still tight with the Jags getting blown out again last week. Actually, all 3 teams in that division that are actually playing for it with the Texans, the Colts, and the Jags getting served up with some nice losses last week. So that division's still wide open for the count. So I like Indy here. I think with getting healthier and just all-time fade spot for Vegas after winning that game last week. It's a back-to-back road game. They're coming off a high. I know it's an emotional team. They're playing well under Antonio Pierce, who, by the way, do you think he gets that job the way he's coached that team?
Honestly,
I didn't think it was a chance, but now I'm starting to think like he might actually have a shot to get that job.
I would be nothing surprises me with the Raiders and Mark Davis.
Fair.
I said that about the last interim head coach. I forget his name, but or where he ended up. But if you remember, he helped boost that team's morale, and they went on a decent run after Gruden was fired there.
Yeah.
But Antonio Pierce, yeah, hell of a job. I Definitely would bring him back if I'm Mark Davis.
Yeah, I mean, especially if he wins out. They have two. I mean, this is a winnable game for Vegas. I'm going to fade them, and I don't think they're going to win. I think Indy wins this game by a touchdown. It's but it's a winnable game, field goal game, right? Like, and then you play Denver next week, two games that you could win out, and no one saw that coming. But
No.
then 9-8 to end the year, that's pretty insane considering where they came from. So I don't know, just thought about that. But I do think Indy takes care of business at home here. I like the way, like I said, I like the way they play at home. I think Minshew bounces back in a big way, especially getting Pittman back. Um, so yeah, I get Indy here. I make the game 4.5. I'm getting the key number of 3. Give me Indy here,
Yeah,
minus the field goal.
and this is including last week's win in Kansas City. The Raiders are 2-5 on the road.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
won 2 in a row. So yeah, definitely seems like there's some I guess regression there coming up for that. I totally lean in your direction as well, especially with the Colts. You know, in the Colts being very much in the thick of winning the AFC South with the absolute debacle that's going on in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
There. So, all right. So let's move ahead to my first like of the week. Now you can give me the latest odds. If you're seeing a 6, I will go with that. But I did my picks this morning. It is
Yep.
now afternoon, as I mentioned earlier. Give me the lines plus 5.5 there, in Dallas. Uh, I question this line because I wonder if they're saying, hey, they just won the NFC North for the first time since 1993. They're probably going to take their foot off the gas pedal here. And, Dallas has just been so dominant at home that they'll probably win by a touchdown against Detroit. But if if you've been paying attention, Dan Campbell's not that guy. He's not going to take his foot off the gas pedal here. He knows that this is a potential playoff preview. It's a big stage in Dallas, and he knows he's going to be front and center on that stage. And on top of that, the Lions have been moving the ball very well on the ground, led by Jahmyr Gibbs. I know that David Montgomery left the game for a couple of quarters, I believe, but all indications are that he will be playing on Sunday. So I could see this being a shootout with, Vegas agrees. I think the point total is at 53 here.
Yep.
And Jared Goff, we all know how he performs indoors. So I think they can keep pace with Dallas offense here. Who, hey, let's remind everybody, they just lost 2 in a row, once to the Bills and once on the road in Miami on a very tough uh, last second loss there. So yeah, I think the Lions are going to come in. They're going to put up points. They lead the NFL with 229 rushing yards after contact during their 2-game win streak here. And the Cowboys, they rank 27th in yards after contact allowed per rush during their 2-game losing streak. I'm just reading from the Athletic here. Yeah. And, you also have to sprinkle in a little bit of the December factor, right? For Mike McCarthy here, the December factor for Dallas in general, right? We've seen it in the past. So I think it's too many points. I think the Lions can easily keep this within a field goal here. Give me the Lions plus 5.5. Are you seeing a 6 out there? Because I'll gladly take that.
Nope. I see. It came down. It was open 6.5, down to 5.5. Actually, open 6, up to 6.5, but down to 5.5.
Okay.
In most spots, there is even 4.5s now popping, and 5s popping out there, but majority of it is 5.5 minus 110. So, yeah, I think that's the number right now. That's a consensus number right now is minus 5.5,
All right.
minus 110.
How do you feel about that?
You know, I at first I was like, wow, a lot of points. And it's just a stay away game for me because I do see it. You mentioned it earlier, right? The Lions winning the division for the first time in 30 years. I agree with you though. Dan Campbell is not that guy. He'll have that team ready to go. But man, it's still a tough spot, right? Going to Dallas, who needs the game after 2 straight losses. And Dallas, look, they've played better at home. This is what they do. They suck on the road. They're better at home.
I think the
But
pressure Dallas here,
yeah,
right?
Dallas needs the game.
Right.
But the Lions are in a three-way tie for the one seed. So I, at the same time, think, any way they can play at home in the playoffs is such a huge advantage because if you have Philly and the Niners both outdoors, even just being the higher seeds, never mind the games you'll have to play before that, like, you're gonna want to play. You want to play any game you can at home. So, um, it's a stay away. I think the line's probably close to right on. I made the game Dallas minus 4.5, so it's close. So it's a stay away for me. Lean your
Wow.
way though.
The Lions have won 5 primetime games this year.
They've won five.
Yep.
Jeez, surprised they even played five.
This is the Saturday night game, by the way.
Yeah, Saturday night. Yep.
Our audience of that.
So I think it's gonna be a good game. A lot of points. You said it earlier. Line 53. I actually like the over. I think there's gonna
Yeah.
be more points in this game.
Yeah. I mean, they're both averaging like, I don't have it in front of me, but it's got to be close to 30 points indoors, right?
Yeah, something like that. It's been crazy. They both put up a ton of points indoors. So yeah, probably around 30.
All right. Well, your second like here has really been one of the most volatile lines I have seen this week, at least. Why don't you dive into that?
Yeah, well, just give me the Giants +6 at home, hosting the LA Rams. I think you're seeing the line got to go all over the place because who was going to play quarterback? Then the Giants announced who was going to play quarterback, and then there's some trends that lean in the Rams' favor. So just think that's what's going on here. But you can get the Giants +6 widely available right now. Tyrod Taylor gets the nod. Think that's a win for the Giants. Look, DeVito is a nice story, but the reality is he's not a good quarterback, and Tyrod Taylor is a very serviceable backup in this league. He can win games, and the Giants outright just play better when he's playing quarterback. We saw it last week in the second half. Throwing the ball deep, that's one thing that the Giants want to do is open it up a little bit, and that's something that you're not really used to seeing with this Giants team. But Brian Daboll's got the boys throwing downfield a little bit, and I like that part of their offense. And I think the Rams corners could be in for a little bit of a struggle here with the deep ball. That said, the Rams, look, they're on fire. They're a tough team to want to fade right now. McVay in his last 23 against the spread is 18-4-1 in December. So that's 18-4. Let me clear that up. In his last 23 games in December, he's 18-4-1. So kind of puts it together at the end of the year, which we've seen. We have the other big concern here is the Giants secondary versus Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, right? How are they going to do that? Are they going to stop those guys? Mix in Kyron Williams, though I think they play the run a little bit better than they do the pass. So my main concern here is Nacua and Kupp. But the Rams are coming across the country. This is a tough spot for them. They're coming across the country. They're going to be playing in cold weather in New York on Sunday. And then look at spots the 49ers in the last game of the year, who's been their nemesis, and that's a huge game for them. This just has all the pieces line up here for me is just get to New York, take care of business, get out of there with a win. Let's go back to California, and they play at San Francisco next week. But just get through this game, get the win, and get out of there. And I think overall the Giants have been playing better. They had that one hiccup against the Saints, and it's most likely because you made it your best bet. But other than that, the Giants have played well. I mean, even against the Eagles on Christmas, they covered that game. They made the Eagles feel uncomfortable in the second half. I know a couple of Eagles fans that I was talking to were not happy on Christmas Day, letting the Giants get back in that, cutting it to 2 in the fourth quarter. So I think the Giants are still battling. I think if there's ever a week to fade them, it's probably next week when they have to play Philly again. But we'll see. For this week, I'm taking the Giants. I'm taking the points. They're at home. I think they cover the number. I don't think they win the game, but I think they cover it. So give me the +6 here.
It is worth noting that, and this is from the covers, that the Rams are 18-4-1 ATS in their last 23 games played in December.
Hey, I said that.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just doesn't want to listen to me. He just puts me on mute
When the hosts
and reads his stuff.
When the hosts aren't listening, right?
Yeah. All good. All good. Yeah, it is worth noting, though, because that's one spot that you don't want to fade McVay. But give me the points here.
All right. What time is my next pick? I kind of just fired off picks, and I don't really have it in front of me. I'm gonna go with for my second Dolphins +3.5 here. in Baltimore. We all saw what the Ravens did to the 49ers, the best team in the NFL. Went to the West Coast, Monday Night Football, and manhandled the 49ers. Mentioned earlier, some luck was involved with injuries to the offensive line. Trent Williams left the game, and then his backup left the game with a concussion, correct? Uh,
Yes, Jalen Moore.
so a little bit of luck there, but still, they absolutely manhandled the 49ers team. So I think that it's a shortened week, right? They're going to be coming back here to take on a Miami team that came off a very emotional win at home versus the Cowboys there. And what did we talk about last week as part of taking the Cowboys pick versus the Dolphins? Is that who have the Dolphins beaten this year? Now they just beat the Cowboys. And
Dallas. Yeah.
what better time to finally beat a good team than late December heading into the playoffs? So I think that this game has been circled on Mike McDaniel's calendar for a long time now. Ravens getting a lot of love, and rightfully so. Very good team. Lamar Jackson's now the leader in the clubhouse for MVP. I think that they're going to pound the run between Raheem Mostert and hopefully Devon A-Chain plays. It does look like that Jalen Waddle will be coming back. I guess his high ankle sprain wasn't as bad. Tyreek Hill, he's going to be playing. So plus 3.5. Yeah, I'm going to take that. Sure. I don't know if they win the game, but I'll take the extra hook there, if you will. So Dolphins plus 3.5 in Baltimore.
I don't know if Waddle's going to play in this game.
I'd be
He's, he,
surprised.
he, he wasn't spotted at practice today.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just one thing to note. I don't know that. I will say this. I think you're on the right side at 3.5. At 3, it's a no play. At 2.5, I'm on the Ravens. I really think that this game is a close, tight game, and that field goal number actually matters here. That's how I would play this game. I think, we saw the line get up to 4. I actually played Miami at 4. Really liked that. Now we're seeing it start to trend back to 3. We'll see. The Dolphins are 2-0. Tua himself is 2-0 against the Ravens. In one of those wins in Baltimore in their opening game last year, I believe it was, when they were down like 28 points and he brought them all the way back. 20 something points. I don't know if it's 28, but 20 something points. I don't know if you remember that, but like just an insane game. Tyreek Hill had a monster second half in that one. So I could see it. I lean the Dolphins anything over a field goal for sure.
All right. Give me your third leg.
Right. My third leg, I am going to Tampa Bay, where the Bucks are hosting the Saints, and right now it's Tampa minus 2.5, and I'm gonna lay it. Another chalk pick here for me. 2 out of 3 that I've given now chalk. Give me Tampa. Like this game is everything I've ever said about everything I ever gamble on. This would be the Saints plus 3, plus 2.5. This would be my spot for the Saints, and I'm just not doing it. I refuse to do it. I've been fading Tampa, and they've been burying me. And I want to fade Mayfield because one of these weeks it's going to come back to earth. But I just don't see it here. I think his resurgence has been awesome. Tampa's been thriving because of it. They've won 4 in a row now. I just can't back Derek Carr and Dennis Allen right now. They're just a lost team, it looks like, with the Saints.
And lock up the division, right?
Yeah, so this is it. So if Tampa wins, they win the division. I think the two teams are heading in opposite directions, right? I talked about Derek Carr and the offense. They just look lost to me. I just can't understand what they're doing. I know they came, like, even Thursday Night Football against the Rams. I know you and I both like the Rams a lot in that one. Yeah, the Rams were blowing them out. They had 2 late touchdowns. The Saints did to make that look a little bit closer than it actually was. But the defense is also getting shredded lately. And Tampa, over their 4-game win streaks, averaged 28.5 points per game. So I am all in on Tampa this week. I think they cover the number. I made the game 4.5. I'm getting value of through the number of 3. So it's an easy play for me. I like this game a lot. So give me Tampa to win the division, cover the spread, and get us a W this Sunday. All right, Baker, please. Been fading you, buddy. It's time to.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna get paid in the offseason, that's for sure. He's a free agent. Yeah. He's earning
He's
his
been,
own
he's been
contract.
great. He's been great.
Been very good. Yeah, and they're rallying around him.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, my only hesitation with that is like, the Saints are in desperation mode. And Tampa secondary is just so awful. So I could totally see like Chris Olave having a game, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you know, probably Derek Carr poops his pants.
Yep, most likely feels that
Uh,
way.
all right, my third like on the week. And again, keep me posted if you're seeing a better line for me here. But give me the Seahawks -3.5. They are very much in the playoff picture, and they absolutely need this win. I am not buying the magic of Mason Rudolph on the road in Seattle, as we all know, the toughest stadium or one of the toughest stadiums to play in does not have that home field advantage anymore. I know that they have an extra day of rest here, but Seahawks are, again, in desperation mode here, looking to get into the playoffs. And it seems like their backfield is finally starting to get healthy. So I think this is a classic take care of business, Pete Carroll spot here. Pete Carroll at his finest in late December. Geno Smith returned to action. It's just I don't know if this is a square play to you, but I'm taking it -3.5 Seahawks.
No, I love the play for you. This almost made my card. It is 3.5 across the board right now. So nothing better to give you, but I
Hey,
still love the play.
they got the Cardinals next week, so
Yeah.
you win two in a row and you're in the playoffs, right?
Yep, exactly. And I think they will. I think they win this game. I think they win next week. I made the game 5.5. It's very close. Again, usually when you pick 5 games a week, the ones around like 4 or 5, you can kind of throw together, pick what you want. Seattle would is probably going to be something I bet. I'm waiting to see if I can get a 3 in market, but doesn't look like it. It's maybe
Ideally,
coming. We'll see. Um, but
now I know that Pittsburgh went on the West Coast earlier this season to take on the Rams and they won.
Mhm.
So I'm not really putting a ton of stock into the West Coast thing here because Tomlin will get his team prepared. But I've always liked the Seahawks team. I really like their offense heading into this year.
Mhm.
Um, they had the injury bug the past few weeks, and like I said, they're finally getting their key pieces back. And I think they win two in a row to close out the year, 10-7 on the year.
I think so too. I'm with you. I think they are going to win this game. I think, yeah, everything you said. I just am full agreement with you. I'm not. I'm looking to fade Pittsburgh this week, going out traveling after that big win last week. I know they're both 8-7. They needed just as much. Pittsburgh's just on the outside looking in,
Yeah.
um, but I don't see them getting it here.
Oh, and by the way, the Steelers have the Ravens next week at home or on the
Yeah.
road, excuse me. Um, I
But
just
if the Ravens win that game on Sunday, they clinch the 1 seed. So that game may not matter as much to Baltimore. I don't
right.
know
Yep.
if we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see what happens there. So
Yeah,
maybe Mike
my
Tomlin keeps his streak alive. But they also beat Baltimore earlier in the year. And that game, you know that. We talk about that every year. You can throw the numbers out. That's a field goal game no matter what happens. So
yeah,
one way or the other, doesn't
pound,
matter.
pound the under.
Yeah.
Pound the under on that one.
Under field goal game. There you go.
Yep. All right, your fourth and final like before we get to the rest.
Fourth and final like, I am going to Sunday night football. It's the last game of the week with no Monday night football. It is the Green Bay Packers +2 at Minnesota. I'm taking the Packers. Look, it's Thursday afternoon, and I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Vikings. They've talked about Nick Mullins, maybe Jaron Hall, maybe Josh Dobbs. To be honest, I really don't care. They have a quarterback problem in Minnesota. It's been a nice story. They've kept the ship to this point, but the wheels are starting to fall off in Minnesota. Um, and I know Green Bay hasn't been playing their best football over the last few weeks. Even though they won last week, they still gave up 30 points to the Panthers. Um, but one thing that I really liked about that I have liked is the passing game of the Packers. They really got that going. I feel like for the most part over the last month, that's really gelling last couple of months. And then they got Aaron Jones back, and he really helps that run game, right? That is something that they desperately miss when he's not on the field. Even if you get used to playing without him because they haven't played with him so much of this season, when he's on the field, it's a difference maker. He moves the ball. and then can slot in AJ Dillon. They got him back last week to play a little bit with him, 1-2 punch. So I like the Packers in this game. I think they win outright here. Not only does Minnesota have quarterback problems, but they lost TJ Hawkinson for the year with an ACL injury. Jordan Addison's banged up again, not practicing today. He's questionable at best for this week. So could be without him on Sunday night. And just overall, I have more confidence in Green Bay's offense than Minnesota right now in the way that they're playing. I thought last week was a good spot for Minnesota to go out and beat Detroit outright at home, and they couldn't get the job done. It was the wrong side all day.
They're a mess.
Um,
They're an absolute
yeah,
mess.
they're a mess. They're just one of those teams that look. They're 7-8, but they're lucky to be 7-8. They don't have a quarterback. When you're on Thursday before a Sunday game and you're talking about potentially three starters
Mhm.
going and you don't know, you don't have a quarterback. And that's the issue. And if Nick Mullins plays, you can spot me 7 points because he'll throw a back-breaking interceptions, what he does.
Yeah, you're
Um,
4 week.
yeah, and I made the game pick even at Minnesota, so give me the 2 points of value here. I'm taking the Packers. They're going to win outright, in my opinion. So that's me. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, I lean in that direction as well. It was very close to a like for me. Sorry. So yeah, I like it. Vikings
Uh,
are an absolute mess.
I
Absolute.
also bet the over in this game. I'll say just not an official play, but I did bet the over in this game at
What's that
45 and
at?
a half, 45 and a half. Um, I just think, again, I like the Packers with Aaron Jones. Their offense looks complete, but their defense has really struggled as well. So let's not ignore that. I should mention that in the handicap.
Up
Um,
40 Panthers.
yeah, and I mean, Baker Mayfield, player of the week. Bryce Young played his best game. Justin Fields was like player of the week. Well, no, who was it? Not Justin Fields. They played someone in between Baker and I can't remember, but they've just been there. Oh, it was DeVito.
Oh, right.
DeVito was lit them up on Monday night. So like their defense has not been great.
Oh, yeah. That was the Monday night
Um,
game.
so
Yeah.
I like the over here. I think a lot of people are playing the under and thinking the under's coming in because of the struggles of the Minnesota quarterback situation. Plus, Green Bay, they did put up 10 points the last time these two teams played, but that was before Jordan Love really got into his own. So I'm looking for this to go over as well as liking the Packers to win the game.
All right, my fourth and final like here. Um, I don't know if this is square or not because the Chiefs' offense has been so bad, but give me the Bengals to cover +7 here. Um, yeah, speaking of franchises that are a mess right now,
Mhm.
look no further than the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, what we saw, and again, we celebrate what Antonio Pierce has done with the Raiders, but you lost at home in Arrowhead on a holiday weekend to the Raiders. That doesn't happen.
The
That does.
Raiders who didn't complete a pass in the second half.
I don't know what the status of Isaiah Pacheco is going to be. Jerick McKinnon was just put on IR. Travis Kelce has scored like one touchdown over his past however many games. He looks like a very aging tight end there. Uh, I'm just pulling up Kelsey's stats here. Yeah, he has not scored a touchdown since week 11.
That's crazy.
That is insane. That's insane. I love what I'm seeing out of Rashee Rice there, but it's just a weird season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Bengals trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. They are sitting at 8-7 on the year. They're still right in the thick of the playoff picture there. I don't know. I don't know if they win, but I can see Jake Browning in the Cincinnati offense causing some chaos in Kansas City. And you know that the pressure is all on the Chiefs this week and their home stadium there or Arrowhead Stadium there. So give me the Bengals to cover +7.
I lean that way. I like that. The one concern with this game for me on the Chiefs offense is actually Travis Kelce. I know he hasn't looked good, but the Bengals really struggle. They're the worst team against tight ends. And if you're at a point now where you just have to force Kelce the ball when you're looking at that offense, like you said, Pacheco, he had a concussion on Monday.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see on a short week if he can get back in and play this game. I would find that unlikely. That said, That's my one concern is Kelsey just having that blow up game because Cincinnati has struggled. But you'd have to think that no matter what you do, you have to just stop Travis Kelsey, throw two guys at him, three guys, whatever you need to do. Just make sure he doesn't beat you and make other guys on that team beat you, regardless of how bad you are against that position.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a complete mess in Kansas City. I'm just reading this from The Athletic. Mahomes has averaged a season low 3.6 air yards per attempt, the second fewest in any start of his career. And just 26.5% of his throws were to targets at or beyond the sticks. And you're seeing, Mahomes scamper more and more, it seems like, too, because of what's going on with their wide receiver core. And I saw that Justin Watson has a questionable tag. There's really not much else on that offense besides Rashee Rice and Travis Kelsey. So I think that the Bengals, they don't have a great defense, but I think their good coaching can keep it close. I think 7 is too much to favor Kansas City.
Yeah,
All
I agree.
right. So let's jump ahead to the rest. Before we get to the best, quick peek at Thursday Night Football here. Browns favored by 7.5. I'm not seeing this line move much. Under is 34. Would lean Browns here.
Yeah,
Uh,
lean Browns. I actually don't have a play on this game.
yeah, I mean, we're recording on a Thursday, so I don't even want to really touch on it much. Um, all right, we have the 49ers and the Commanders. Do you think that the 49ers will blow doors in Washington versus Jacoby Brissett and the Washington Commanders? Because I think the Commanders can actually cover 12.5, 13 points here.
I did bet the Niners. I think I'll say this. If the 49ers won last week, I don't think they would have covered this number. Because of what happened last week, I think they need to go across the country, take this game serious. They're playing for the 1 seed. They have the Rams next week. They can't afford any close game hiccups. Kyle Shanahan absolutely hates the Washington Commanders. He hates the organization from being there before. He's had nothing to say positively about ownership there. Or I know it's a new regime there, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want to go beat their brains in. Trent Williams hates that team. He avoided a major injury. Looks like he's going to play this week, so at least
He's
get
gonna
Trent
play.
back. Looks like so. I just think in this game, I don't know who's. I mean, Washington's allowing over 31 points a game at home this year, and I think the Niners get to that number with ease. Um, so yeah, for me, that's something I'm watching out for. The other thing is like, yes, the Commanders have looked better with Brissett, but that's also the end of these games. It's different coming in mop up duty than it is playing a full game in the NFL. So we'll see. I think the Niners have to take care of business. I think they will take care of business. But it's close. I made the game. Honestly, I made the game 13, so it wasn't a huge variance play for me.
All right, let's jump ahead to the Patriots and Bills. Now, this was very close to a like for me in terms of the Patriots covering, just because it's a divisional game, and we saw how close the previous game was, which was actually Mac Jones at the helm, and the Patriots actually won. And the Bills are 0-6 ATS as a double-digit favorites. I'm just pulling that up to confirm. Yeah, the
Yep.
Bills are 0-6 ATS in their last 6 games as a double-digit favorite. I was on the Bills last week, 11.5 on the road, and the Chargers. But my hesitation with this one, they could absolutely just blow doors.
Mm.
This is going to be a hostile environment in Buffalo. They eked out a win last week. They come back home. Everybody's feeling high about the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is still very much in the MVP race. Um, I just stayed away from it ultimately.
Yeah, stay away at this number. It's still a division game. I do agree with you. They could absolutely blow doors, but what we're starting to see a little bit with Buffalo is the transition to being a run first team and taking that, preserving Josh Allen and his body and his arm and all that, which I think is beneficial. We've talked about it in this show for a long time now that we want to see more James Cook, want to see more running the ball, and I think we're starting to see that. So when you start to lay 13 with a team that wants to run the ball
Yeah.
a little bit more, do they get a lead and just start running down their throat, or do they or do they go back to being Buffalo and just start throwing the ball over them? Now that's a whole nother story. So I made the game 13. It is 13, so pass for me.
Yeah, I've seen it kind of teetering between 13, 13 and a half. But yeah, I'm with you and James Cook. I think that they are going to pound the run with him. He had kind of a letdown game last week. And he had 20 carries though, so he's still seeing plenty of volume.
Yeah,
But James Cook was actually one of my preferred uh, DFS plays,
yeah.
7,100, at least on DraftKings, and he's seeing right now about anywhere between 10 and 12% projected ownership. So that could be an interesting tournament play for
Mhm.
some folk out there. This was also, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, never mind. Cardinals and Philadelphia. I was very close to liking the Eagles here. 11 points. Total in this game is 48 and a half. And I was very close to liking Philly because this is like the most cake last two games or three games, I should mention, for the Philadelphia Eagles. But you mentioned it earlier in the podcast how they, kind of had some backdoor action with the Giants last week, and they didn't really shut that out in confident fashion here. But this is a classic blow door spot against a Cardinals team that has absolutely nothing to play for. They're completely banged up. Um, their only offensive weapon, really, or weapons, are James Conner, which I think Philly's front is not going to have an issue with, and Trey McBride, who is a tight end one. So, yeah, I mean, I just need to see more production out of this Philadelphia team because that's another weird feels season, if you will, out of the
Mhm.
Philadelphia Eagles. Kind of similar to the Chiefs, not really looking at their record. But yeah, it just seems like the vibes aren't really there. Um, so it's a stay away for me, but 11-point total, or Philly's favored by 11. You lean in any direction on this one.
No play. Make the game 10 and a half. If I was to take anything, I actually would lean the Arizona side just because I can't lay these kind of numbers with Philly even against the garbage teams of the NFL. Their pass defense is so bad. And I think you've just seen like they lost Shane Steichen, they lost Jonathan Gannon, now the coach of Arizona, right? Like knows what they want to do. Like so I don't know. I think they can keep this game within 11. It's still a lot of points, right? Like you can still win the game by 10 and not cover that spread. So for me it's a no play, but if I had to take something, it would probably be Arizona at 11, but I'm not playing this game.
Panthers head to Jacksonville to take on a banged up Jacksonville Jaguars team, a skidding team. Very impressive offense last week from the Panthers. 6.5-point total here, or excuse me, the Jaguars are favored by 6.5-point total is 38. Was leaning the Panthers on this one, I must say.
Yep, same. I'm done with the Jags. I have to quit the Jags. The Chargers and the Jaguars. I feel like once I stopped betting the Chargers, I start betting the Jags, and I'm just getting my teeth kicked in by them. So no thanks. I'm off this game. There's too many points. I lean Carolina. Though if there's ever a get right spot and can Trevor Lawrence put it all together, this needs
Would
to
be
be
it.
the spot for them. I mean, gee, you can't lose this.
I mean, Travis Etienne has just ran out of steam. His
He's
pass.
not even getting touches though. I mean, it's like
Oh, no, he's completely gassed, I think, honestly. And they can just scheme like they've lost all their wideouts besides Calvin Ridley. So they can easily scheme to stop Travis Etienne. I mean, his past 3 weeks, he's averaged 2.5 yards per carry, 3.1 yards per carry, and 2 yards per carry last week. He had 6 carries for 12 yards last
they
week.
keep going down like 14 in
Yeah.
the first quarter. Like, they get just getting hammered early. So like, it's a bad recipe for getting your running back touches. And when he's your best player on offense, right now, like forget it.
It wouldn't
Not good.
shock, it wouldn't shock me if you kind of saw an uptick to Tank Bigsby this week to kind of
Yeah, throw a little tank in there. He's a rookie, fresh legs.
yeah, but they want to see, if they're being realistic about the season, it's not the Jaguars' year. And they probably want to see if they have a capable backup running back, seeing what's going on with Travis Etienne, and maybe another weapon in their offense in 2024 here. So yeah, I would actually lean the Panthers on this matchup here.
Okay.
Uh, Chargers and the Jared Stidham led Broncos. Broncos favored by 3.5 point total. And this one is 37. We've all heard the news of Russell Wilson and his contract situation being benched. Reports are that he is most likely going to be or will be cut. I think it was Diana Rossini who reported that Russell Wilson will be cut in the spring.
Mhm.
And benching has to do with not passing a physical to get out of what $37 million. So now Broncos are going to see what they have in Jarrett Stidham and see if he can play under Sean Payton there. I kind of like the Broncos here.
Yeah, I don't. Last week was a spot for the Chargers. Like that was their like, can we pull one out against the Bills? They gave everything they had in that game. I just also don't want to lay points with Denver. I don't. I can Stidham be any worse than Russ? I know people keep saying that Russell Wilson was good this year. I don't see it. Like
He
I,
was
I, I
just a notch below average.
yeah, like which is whatever. Like I think Stidham can do the same thing. So I don't think it's a big loss here. Um, no play for me.
Yeah, Russell Wilson ranks 26th in yards per attempt and 27th in percentage of attempts rushing in a first down. Wow. Not very good. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to throw a couple Jared Stidham DFS lineups out there. You see his price tag?
It's got to be. It's got to be sure. Like 4,000s.
48.
48. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have a couple of playing that Chargers secondary there. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Not
It's a steal because they announced the Russ stuff after the DraftKings put out the lines.
Yeah, and Stidham, from what I've seen from his Patriots day, and it wasn't much because they just kept playing Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what he did with the Raiders. He wasn't terrible.
No,
I
a couple good games.
feel like we saw Stidham. Wasn't Stidham with the Broncos last year, or am I just pulling that out of my ass?
He
Or
was with Vegas last year.
it was last year. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very curious to see what Stidham does. But yeah, for DFS, I could see him throwing up 18, 20 something points, low
Mhm.
20s. Why not? He's got some weapons there. All right, I think we have covered the rest, correct?
Yep, we did.
All
Best bet
right.
time.
Here comes the Grim Reaper. Where's
Yeah.
my what's
I
that?
don't like the fact that you Grim Reaper this team. I bet this team as well. They're
What's
another one that almost made my card.
the weapon that the Grim Reaper uses? How do you pronounce that? Sith? Is that what it is?
The weapon he has there, the old Sith.
Yeah. How do you pronounce? Is that what it is? I'm trying to look up the pronunciation here. Let's look that up. Sith.
Yeah,
It was
that's
like
you. This is the you come
whatever. I'm calling it a Sith. I can't pull up the pronunciation, but
Sith.
give me.
Sounds like Sith.
I think it's Sith. Yeah, whatever. Who gives a shit? Give me. I actually feel good about this. I've said that. Best bet. Uh, give me the,
What could go wrong?
give me the Bears -3 versus the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons blow on the road. They
Mhm.
just like slay at home, I feel like. And you still got Taylor Haneke. Is it Tyler or Taylor? I always forget.
Ty-
Taylor.
Uh, Taylor.
Taylor Haneke.
Taylor.
There are Falcons are 2-5 on the road. They're 5-3 at home. The Bears are 4-3 at home. This is still a coaching staff playing for their jobs in Chicago. They have the #1 pick in the draft from the Carolina Panthers. They could do a lot there. We've seen what their GM's been doing, made some good trades, improved their defense, and everybody was like, "Hey, why are you going out and acquiring Montez Sweat?" Well, they're building towards the future, and I like what I see. The Bears, they rank third in the NFL in opponent yards per rush, 3.6, and they have not a ton of the Falcons don't have a ton of success against rushing quarterbacks like Justin Fields. Now, I don't know the status of Cole Kmet, who's a nice weapon for Justin Fields, but it seems like DJ Moore is fine. He will be back. He came back into the game last week with an ankle situation, but didn't really see a ton of production out of him. But, he's going to be playing versus this team. And yeah, Chicago's looking to end the season on a high note here. They're sitting at 6-9. I just don't believe in the Falcons. Um, I think that division's pretty much locked up with the Buccaneers. So give me the Bears -3 home versus the Falcons.
Yeah, I lean that way for sure. I like the under in this game too.
What's
38.
that at?
We'll
38.
see. Um, just anytime Atlanta goes on the road and think they're going to put up a lot of points, I don't care who the quarterback is. So, I like the Bears D the way they've been playing. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I like the Bears.
All right, sweet. Well, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. He bounced back last week with his best bet after a loss in week 15, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Had the Steelers plus 2.5 last week for his best bet. Matt, what is your best bet this week?
We are going with the Houston Texans minus 4.5 at home against the Tennessee Titans. Wish I got the 3.5. I did get the 3.5. Wish it was still there so you give everybody out that number, but I don't care. Anything under 7 is a playable number in my opinion here.
5.5 now on draft.
Fine. 5.5. Yeah, it's up to 5.5 in some spots. Still 4.5 in others. Fives. It's right now. You can see 4.5s, fives, and 5.5s depending on where you're shopping. Looking. Um, that said, CJ Stroud is going to be back in this one. That said, Will Levis could be too, but I don't care who's playing quarterback for the Titans in this game because I just don't think it's going to be much success. We've seen this blueprint with Tennessee and what they want to do, and they're going to want to run the ball. Texans sixth in the league against the run. Tennessee's pass defense is so bad, and that's where the CJ Stroud um, coming back is such a key for this team. Tennessee 32nd in interception rate in the league. That's last. They're 18th overall against total yards allowed per game. And right before Stroud got hurt, he was playing without Nico Collins. He was playing without Tank Dell. Collins is back now. That's a huge win for them, especially because Dell's out for the year. So they're about as healthy as they're going to get on offense now. With Stroud back, he had a couple of weeks off. So we'll see. I expect the one concern here is does he have a little bit of a lull coming out of a concussion for the first time in his career? Out 2 weeks. I don't expect it. I think if there's any team you want to see, it's probably the Tennessee Titans with that pass defense. It's just so bad. I also think it's a flat spot for Tennessee. I know it's a division game, but they just came off back-to-back home games and a max effort game against the Seahawks in which they lost. The week before that, they were down in Miami and they pulled off that insane Monday Night Football comeback against the Dolphins. So they've been playing a lot of hard games to the end. But I just think this is a game where they just go back and they're not playing for anything anymore. They went max effort against Seattle. Houston, we've seen this time and time again. Houston, young team, they're better at home. They play better at home. They are at home in this game. Tennessee, when you're not very good, you usually play better at home. That is the case. They're on the road here. So a lot of things to like about Houston, a lot of things to not like about Tennessee. So give me the 4.5. Best bet. Hopefully go to 14-3 in that area.
And again, Matt said up to 7 for this one.
It's not going to get to that point. I would be stunned if it gets that high. I'm just saying, I think they win by a touchdown or more.
What do you think of the point total in this one? 43.5. Keep in mind, this is DeAndre Hopkins back in Houston. I just don't know if I believe in, Ryan Tannehill. I didn't see what he did last week, but I'm looking at his stats.
He was bad.
Yeah, so I
wasn't good. I think they're going to get Levis back.
We'll
see. We'll see. It seems from what I'm reading, I tend to believe that Levis might play in this game.
If Levis is confirmed as the starter, I might sprinkle on that over there.
It's low because I think the Texans are scoring in this game. I don't think they're going to have much issue scoring points. So it's what can Tennessee do to get there? So yeah, that's a huge part of what you would play.
I mean, Texans secondary is putrid. So if Will Levis is back, DeAndre Hopkins back in Houston, I don't hate it. I don't hate the over.
Don't hate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just run through our likes and best bet one more time. My first like, Lions plus 5.5, Dolphins plus 3.5, Seahawks minus 3.5, Bengals plus 7. I don't know how I feel about the 3 dogs that I picked here, but either way. Your first like, Indy minus 3, then the rest here, New York Giants plus 6, Tampa minus 2.5, Green Bay plus 2. Oh, you have 3 dogs too. Okay, so I don't feel as bad. My Grim Reaper pick of the week is the Bears minus 3, and Matt's best bet is Houston minus 4.5.
Yes,
any
sir.
final thoughts before we put a bow on this sickly, yucky podcast that we're both little germ-filled fellas this week?
Sure, no, nothing here. I like to tell people how much we like the card versus not like the card. This one kind of right in the middle for me. I don't
Yeah,
love the card. I don't hate it.
I'll say
It's a solid card.
it's getting more difficult towards the end of the year. Don't you feel
Yeah,
more?
usually does, right? Numbers get sharper, books get sharper, right? You get a lot of stuff to go off of. Numbers get tighter. That's why gambling is so hard at the end of the year, especially you hit the playoffs. You don't have to bet every playoff game, right? Just because there's not that many people tend to like, oh, I want to watch it. I want to bet the game. It's tough. They get really sharp because they're more focused on those games. So at this time of year, you do see that.
All right, and again, just a reminder, folks, please subscribe to us on all the social media outlets at Better Laws. Like us on YouTube. I haven't seen a lot of likes out there. And
Like us.
I know that there's people watching because I see the stats. So if you haven't done so, like our videos and leave a comment, leave a 5-star review on Apple, and leave a comment on Apple as well. All of that will help us immensely. So we appreciate you listening. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year, Matt.
Happy New Year, Tuck.
All right.
Feel
And
better, buddy.
good. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty much better. I just sound like crap, but yeah, you feel better.
You feel better.
No, you feel better, son of a bitch.
Uh,
All right, man. We'll see you and Happy New Year, everyone. Bye.
bye bye.